Hey, what's up, geeks? Matt here, Geeks from the Multiverse. We got a geeky chat coming at you. We're going to talk about some Marvel news. We're going to talk Deadpool 3. That's Deadpool and Wolverine. We got some podcast projects that we're going to be talking about. So let's get geeky.
You know, shit, man. I just spilled all over myself.
Can't take you fucking anywhere,
you're
man.
right.
You know?
I'm sorry, buddy. I'm just a drunk. I'm sorry. I need to get help, man. So, anyways, guys, this is your boy John, and of course,
I like to call him J-Win in the house.
Whoop, whoop. So I'll explain that in a minute, and then of course we got Matt with me here. But yeah, this J-Win thing. Okay, so funny story. Okay, so yes, your boy, graduated from college. Technically yesterday. Technically, if we want to get real technical here, since we like the technical word of technical, I know. I actually graduated in December. And so it was actually like around Christmas time was supposed to be like when I was supposed to graduate. But anyways, graduated in May. It's not a big deal. It was more formality. I mean, honestly, I didn't really want to go, Matt, because holy shit. We want to talk about like parking? Like, it was ridiculous, man. It was the most horrendous. Never been there in my life, okay? Never been to UNH. Yeah, it's a university in New Hampshire for you who don't know. And I kid you not, man, I walked in and I was like, where the fuck am I going? I'm trying to run in. I mean, the thing actually started at 7 o'clock at night, okay? I thought it started at 7:30. No. I got there by 6:35, 6:40-ish, okay? Oh my God. I was running because I didn't know where I was going. So I had to like figure it out. This guy was like, oh, you got to go down there. I'm like, shit. All right. So I start running down to go to where I need to go. Oh, ooh, excuse me.
Jeez.
I know. I just came out of nowhere. I don't know. Anyways, I go in and I'm like, all right, we got to sign you in. I'm like, all right, cool. So they wanted me to write down my name, even though it said my name right on top of this piece of card or this piece of paper.
No problem.
No problem. So now, but they asked me, this is where they asked me, Matt. They wanted my name phonetically spoken out, right? Or just written out the way it was. And I said, okay, fine.
This is where it all goes wrong.
This is exactly where it all goes wrong because literally I write J-A-W-N. Now, phonetically, because and in Facebook, they do that same thing. You can have like a little phonetics. Yeah. I know that's exactly how it would spell phonetically. And then I wrote my last name, so Lally. So I was like, Lall-EE. And I was like, all right, cool. That's exactly what it would be written. So I gave it to, I had to hold it. So I was waiting through the whole ceremony. It was pretty good. It was nice. We're sitting there, and we're walking up and I'm, about to literally hand this piece of paper off to this woman. Okay. And I'm going to preface this. This white lady bish. Okay. I didn't say bitch. I said bish. Okay. Because, oh my God. I mean, I'm telling you, there were names that were spoken that I had no idea. Okay. I'm talking, and I'm not trying to make fun of anybody, but I swear to God, I thought somebody said, Billy. I don't know, something stupid like that. And she got that right, but she couldn't even say my name. So what Matt just said earlier about J-Win. Okay. I kid you not. This lady, I have video evidence of this. My dad has it too. This woman basically says, J-Win Lally. And I was like, I took a second. I was like, what the fuck did this woman just call me? I was like, who's this J-Win guy? And I want to know who this guy is, and I'm walking up and I'm seeing like the dean of the college and, so forth. And I'm just like, he's like, oh, congratulations. Like, yeah, thanks. Just because apparently my name's J-Win now. I didn't realize my name had to be, changed. So actually, as a joke, after all this has happened, even my mom and my dad were talking about, they're like, who the fuck is J-Win? And when did we get a fucking son named J-Win all of a sudden? And I was sitting there the entire time. I'm like, I was like, how the fuck do you literally fuck up probably one of the most whitest names on planet Earth? I've literally, since I've ever nobody has ever in the well, I'm not saying million years, but like since I've been alive, there's nobody in the world that I've ever heard somebody say Jaywin. Because the first thing that came to my mind, Matt, was the Key and Peele skit. Alake, A.A. Ron,
right.
like Jaywin. Yeah. I'm like, who the fuck? I'm like, how do you, what? Like, how? And I don't know. But anyways, no, and I made the joke to everyone else because, we had a party today. Matt was with me as well. And I was like, I'm just going to legally go and change my name to Jaywin because, apparently that's what I am now. And so, yes, my slave name is John. So I figured I'm going to go with Jaywin. Okay. I'm just talking about the woke moment here, because apparently that's my government name. So I figured Jaywin's probably a better use of, my name. So I figured, I told my parents, I'm like, just don't call me John anymore. Just call me Jaywin. It's fine. Just because, again, this one white woman, okay, I'm talking really white, literally could say all these different names, Shanae, like Shanina, whatever, right? Had no problem with their names. But literally a 4-letter word that is probably one of the easiest names to ever pronounce. And I was like, this has got to be a Guinness World Record or something. This has got to be like something. I've never seen this in my entire life.
I've said it before and I'll say it again. Some of the dumbest people I've ever met are the smartest.
Well, this woman has a college, right, but she has a college education. And she's a professor.
The smartest people are often the dumbest you'll ever meet.
I mean, literally, like when I was going to say, you're right, because even the ones with street smarts are a hell of a lot smarter than those college kids that get those degrees. Now, granted, I understand. I got both. I have that smarts and I have those street smarts because I know what you shouldn't be doing, especially if like you're walking, let's say down Elm Street at like 2 a.m. Probably not a good idea to just walk by yourself, bro, because you're going to get mugged or you're going to get stabbed or whatever. But like, somebody who was a college kid, oh, it's fine, man. Don't worry about me. And I'm just like flinging money around. Yeah, you dumbass. You're going to get probably stabbed and you're probably going to, die because this idiot is like, oh, here's $100,000 I got in my hand. You're like, well, there's a couple of kids that are walking up right behind you and stabbing the shit out of you. Like, that's just the dumb shit that I don't get it.
Yeah.
But yes, no. So guys, so apparently, like I said, I'm just going to go down to the City Hall or wherever I need to go legally change my name and just call
I think you have to go to the courthouse. But
all right. Well, I'll go to the court. It's fine. Just so you guys know, just if you ever see me, just call me Jaywin. It's fine. All right. So end of story. But anyways, we got some interesting stuff going on. We'll talk about some of the Marvel news that we're going to be talking about. But I figured this Matt, I'm going to let you kind of take the lead on, especially since it's kind of your baby, in a sense.
It actually has been my baby for a little bit. I mean, I've been writing this thing for, I think, quite a while now. Like, I feel like I've been writing it for quite a while, but it actually hasn't been really that long.
It's only been, I would say, at least, a few months?
Yeah, I think it's been a few months. If you're wondering what it is, I am in process of writing a book, fiction book. I'm not going to reveal what it is yet until I get it published. Obviously I don't want the story just getting out so somebody can write it before me.
I don't want that. No copyright now.
But, I have been writing it for a little bit now. And right now I finished chapter 17 and I'm working on 18. So right now I'm 196 pages in.
Yeah. And I mean, talking with Matt a little bit too. I mean, now, granted, we're talking like full 8x11 pages. Like we're talking like your college essays, like kind of like style writing.
It's a normal size, Google sheet, Google Doc pages. To format it to the publishing size, it probably would be more, 6x9, which is your typical book size. So, I mean, a 200-page book would probably be more like 330-ish.
Well, yeah, I mean, 300-400 pages, depending on the realm. But yeah.
It'll be a little bit larger, but I mean, it'll be roughly about that 65,000 word, novel size. So it won't be a huge book like Stephen King's It. It'll be a much decent, sized read for the average reader, I think.
Well, I mean, right. If you're an avid reader, like now, I can tell you right now, I would listen to an audiobook, and I'm going to be I don't know why I'm going to say this, but like I've always been like an autobiography or like a biography kind of book, like a more of a non-fiction. That's just me. I love like sports stories. I love that kind of stuff. I like, war, kind of, style, all that stuff. But like it's hard for me, man, because I don't know what it is, but like as a kid, it was really hard for me to like literally pick up a book and be like, you know what, I'm gonna start reading a book about whatever. Now, and the only ones I would say not really, nonfiction based that I would read, honestly, and it was weird. It was the R.L. Stine, like, Goosebumps. I used to love reading Goosebumps. Yeah. It was one of those things. And I mean, it's going to sound weird too, but even on like my deployment, I asked, granted, I wish I should have picked it up, but it was always hard because I didn't have enough time, but I got like a whole like set of basically like R.L. Stine, like the kids' books. I understand. It was like, well, why do you want that? I'm like, well, because like, for me, if it's quick and easy to read real quick, it's like those stories that you read and you're like, yeah, it's, yeah, like, as an adult, it's not as scary, but like as a kid, you're like, you're like, was a Night of the Living Mummy or the Dummy or whatever. And like,
yeah,
like say cheese or, like like some of those stupid stories that they had. But like, I remember reading it and I mean, granted, I was like, oh my God, like this is like, for me, it was not saying scary, but it was like enough to like keep me on edge sometimes. But like, like growing up now, you're like, oh, okay, it'd be kind of neat to kind of like reread some of those stories. But like, I would say with this book that Matt's doing, yes, I will put aside my differences on reading and I would read this book, because it is, I'm not going to go into it, but it, it's a very interesting idea. It's different where
it's very, I mean, it is very geek culture. It does delve into actually a lot with, Greek mythology, kind of that superhero, with powers and abilities and, the super villain type roles in the story. So
yeah. And I mean, from what Matt and I have discussed, a lot of it is, interesting enough where I would say even, I mean, it really depends. I mean, I would say maybe teenagers. I'd even say, maybe young adults. I mean, maybe your older adults too, if they're like into that kind of stuff too, but I would say that's probably your like your age frame or like the age range really where I would see, people were doing it. But, I got to give Matt credit though, because like, I always make the joke. I'm like, dude, this man has so much time on his hands. Cause I'm like, dude, I'm like, how? Like, I know I'm a stay-at-home dad and I feel like I don't have any fucking time, even though I'm literally at home. And it's like, I'm like, I don't know how you do it. And you're working a full-time job and you're doing all this other shit. And I was like, unless you literally just, because he tells me all the time, he's like, I go home, I work, I go home, I eat, sleep, shit, all this other shit. And it's like, and he's like, yeah, but I still find time. And I'm like, good fucking to you, because I don't know how you do it.
I'll sit there and like I'll have the computer open and I'll be, I'll just be typing away, or I'll sit at the computer and just type and add things to the story. Sometimes I'll go back to the other chapters if I think of something, but that's pretty much I've just been adding to it, and I think right now it's about the content wise it's about 90%, but it's really only phase one. Where I'm getting the content written, and then, phase two will be really just review and edit.
Right. And then, And I know 3 is more just like, okay, getting it published and maybe having some, before getting published,
I gotta
more
get
like
read
the viewing.
And edited and.
Yeah. And I mean, and that makes sense. Like I said to you, I mean, right now, it's like the raw, like this is the raw form of the whole thing and trying to get it all down.
Yeah, right now it's very, very raw. So, just going back, making sure the story flows, making sure the character dialogues, make sense, and, changing some of the dialogue so it matches the character. For, I'm one of the characters is more of like that kind of Southern redneckish kind of dialogue that he has. So I have to go through and make sure like what he's saying matches throughout the whole book. So it's not just him talking like we're talking. Like he has that, slang in the actually wording that I'm typing, which is very, very difficult to try to get written slang and some of those things when you're talking, somebody from the South who, some of the slang might be like, oh, you son of a bitch. Like, some of those things might be different, but like when you're talking from someone from the South, like they have a lot of different metaphors that might not make sense.
Yeah, like it's funny. I remember like a TikTok video. This one guy, he was like, man, I don't know. It was something like, he's like, man. I said, you're so goddamn old. I said, I swear to, I don't know. It was, I can't even remember how he said it, but it was like the dumbest shit. And you're like, and like somehow it like semi made sense, but it was like you would never say that up here. Like,
I'm going to slap a mosquito on your porch. Like, what the hell are you saying, man?
No,
you ain't slapping nothing on my porch.
No, he's like,
but they have a lot of like, no, they have a lot of like intricacies with their speech, and
it's very witty. It's very like, it's quick, witty, very clever. And it was just like, you don't think about it that quickly because like, when you and I speak, right? So I know in New England and stuff, like, we talk very fast. We kind of like fast pacing. I'm not saying we don't have quick witted, like clever conversations, but like these guys, now generally speaking, depending on what part of the South, right? They're generally slower, right? They're more polite in some ways, but like, you get some of these like old rednecks, and they're like, yeah, and they're ready to go, and then they throw these like little one-liners at you. You're like, holy shit, where did you come from with this? Yeah. But anyways, guys, I mean, we'll get back on track here, but like, Matt's working on this book because I will admit, I'm proud of the big guy here, because it's something that I know he's very creative, and I know, a lot of times, I always make the joke that, he's very introverted, he's doing his own thing, but like, he's taking the time to really kind of, push the bar a little bit, like this is something that I've known him for, I wouldn't say a long time, but we've known each other for, a good amount of time now. And, there's just some things that I never, personally would have thought that he would have ever done, cause like I said, he's very behind the scenes. He's very, kind of like doing his own thing here and there, but
definitely had a lot of ideas. I've never actually, continued the process of actually writing it. So this is kind of the first one I've actually gotten to where the point that I'm at right now.
Well, no, I mean, and like we've said before, guys, I mean, shit, I'm not gonna lie. If Matt makes I'm not saying like as much as J.K. Rowling, with her books with Harry Potter, but like, if this dude gets a lot of money from this book, I'm gonna be like, all right, we're done. Clearly, we just need you to keep writing books, man. Screw the podcast. I'm done with this stuff. No, I just think of like, we're doing this because we, we want to be able to, give back to the communities and, to do all this other stuff. But like, we do it because, I think somebody today, they're like, what is your following? What is this? Like, what is the, what is the reasoning behind what you do? And I'm like, well, you're like, are you making money? And I'm like, no. I mean, no offense. I mean, we're not making a lot, and I'm not really talking about it because I know we talked about it before, but like, I know that there's other podcasts that, we're talking about celebrity podcast people that have been famous and now they're doing it.
Influencers that are doing podcasts.
And like for us, it's more like we're trying to show you that, two ordinary dudes, getting behind a mic, starting from somewhere, because everyone's like, well, you gotta have a following. I'm like, yeah, I know. And you realize how hard it is when you don't have people to help.
And we will get there eventually. But, I think, right now we're doing the podcast, and, when this book is finished, because I will guarantee that this thing will get published, whether it's a big pile of crap or whether it's an actual good book. I mean, the thing will get published. So, it's just kind of another offering that we're going to have. And this book is really the first book in a series of 3 that I have planned.
Oh, I didn't know you were going to tell them that. I thought you were just going to mention the first book. This
is really just the really first one that I have. I mean, I have timelines for the, book 2 and book 3. I haven't started them yet, but I have full timelines for them.
I think Matt's more judging the fact of if this book is going to be successful or not, because if it is, then, of course he'll continue to do it. If it's not, then he might have to.
Well, I mean,
think about some things.
If I feel like the story is important enough to just do, I might, obviously I'll probably finish it. But yeah, I mean, if people buy the book and then, the reviews are all just like, oh, this is a pile of crap, then I might be like, yeah, I might just take it off. But for now, I mean, a little bit biased probably because I'm writing it, but I do think the story is really, really good. And I do think, people will want to, once I can reveal a little bit more about it, I think it'll definitely be worth the read.
Well, I mean, and that's the thing, Matt. I mean, like I told you before, when we're doing things differently, we're not trying to like, keep the same, kind of vibe what other people do and all this other stuff. But like, showing them, saying like, hey, we can do all this stuff. We don't have to be rich, famous, and, so forth and so forth. But, being able to say, hey, we're two dudes, talking about geek culture. We're doing all these things. I understand that technically we're talking about podcasting that started, 15-ish, give or take. I don't know. I can't remember exactly when it started, but people have been doing it for a while, and I understand that they've had are growing in a massive following, but for us, it's if we get it, great. If we don't, then, we keep doing it. I mean, clearly we love doing it. It's not like,
we're just doing it. Right now it's just being consistent, doing what we're doing. And when the book is finished and I get it published, we're going to do a whole lot of plugging of the book. And, if it doesn't sell, it doesn't sell. If it sells, great. It's still going to be, what we're doing. It's definitely going to have the Geek of the Multiverse, it's going to be in our realm of what we're doing. So it's going to be part of, the podcast and what we're doing. So, it is what it is. I mean, we're trying to reach many people.
Well,
across different medias,
Well, hold on, Matt. What is the vision? What is our motto?
Well, I mean, like I said, we're trying to unite all geeks.
Exactly. So that's all we're doing. In just different ways, like you just said, with different media outlets and different ways of just showing that what we can do.
I mean, talking about uniting all geeks, I mean, we do have a couple other concepts that we're looking at. I mean, like I said, we don't want to reveal much of anything. So right now they're just concepts, but we do have, another idea for a children's book that we want to do. And this side will be, more of our evolved side than the podcast side. Because this one will actually have more of a message than just being geeky content, like the book will be, and, not more inappropriate like the other concepts we have.
Oh, God, I know.
But this one will be like a legit, children's book that are more based upon our story. Obviously, a little bit more imagination involved with it.
Well, so... just so I'm clear, Matt, we're not talking about the original idea for Rick and Morty kind of style of that style, right?
No. I mean, it'll be definitely more children friendly, and it'll be just us, probably as younger, teens or something, and more children's based and just fun.
Well, so I think one of the concepts that I did was. Going into a video game, him and I talked about having the idea of maybe the two of us, as our, animated selves or drawn on selves or whatever, going in and oh, hey, why don't we go into our favorite video game and see what that can do and kind of jump into different worlds. So going in from let's say Far Cry or Call of Duty or kind of jumping around a little bit and being hey, it's all fun about jumping in real stuff, but it's the lesson, I guess, in some ways is, it's like a balance of your life, right? You don't want to be stuck in a,
it seems fun to play video games, but if you're actually in the video game dealing with what they're dealing with inside the game, then it's not as fun.
Well, I mean, and then
that children's book that will have, that kind of a message, but it plays a lot on the message with imagination.
Well, I mean, imagination, I would even say probably even more along the lines of you're, like you said, there's goods and bad consequences depending on what you're doing in the game, right? So if you're in the game, if you're in the game, the bad consequence is, I hate saying it because generally speaking, this is what most TV shows do is if you die in the game, then you're dead in real life, so you don't want to do that and you don't have to restart.
Right.
But good consequence, I guess, in some ways you're it's cool. I get to see what it's like to be in these games and do all that. But you could even bring it further and be we've talked about morality or whatever message we decide to go with, but you can bring those little concepts in and be hey, but that's the kind of the idea, guys, is we might be, in these weird, crazy adventures, basically, and, kind of giving I would say a child's perspective on, what you can do in a sense.
Yeah. And each one might deal with different problems or issues. There might be, maybe down the road, there might be another one where we tackle bullying.
Yep.
Different issues that, kids or even, maybe older kids. I wouldn't say maybe teenagers. That might be a little too old, but
Yeah, I mean, yeah, depending on the age group.
older children might, be able to learn or take something from. So
Right.
that's one of our ideas. The other one is slightly more for adults, I would say. Definitely more for adults.
Oh, you're talking about like the addiction kind of.
No, I was talking more about our ideas for adult children's books.
Oh, well, that was just like a fun topic that we talked about. But
yeah, I don't know so much about these, but I was thinking of if you remember the Curious George books, John.
no, I do.
So doing kind of the opposite and switching it up and doing like a Curious Human, where the man in the yellow suit is an ape in the yellow suit.
Oh, so now you're talking about like Planet of the Apes, kind of a twist on it.
Yeah, kind of doing something like that, where like the human is more of like the pet, and so it'd be like Curious Human learns electricity. And you have them like sticking forks in sockets and like doing this. He's learning just like Curious George would.
Right, but what was that one concept that you had? We talked about it. It was actually when I know you guys probably don't know this, but my son was in the hospital a little bit ago, had his intestine, part of it removed and whatnot. But I was talking with Matt that day, and I was out in the parking lot, but I can't remember what the concept was. It was like was it like Blue Dog or it was something? It was a children's book that you were like, oh yeah, but it was like a weird twist on it. I was trying to remember what it was.
So this one was, Are You My Mommy? Are you my mother?
It was the Bluebird or something like that.
So this one, Are You My Mother, was a book about a bird, I think what fell out of the nest.
Yeah.
And basically was walking up to animals asking, are you my mother? And it would say, no, why don't you ask the dog? Why don't you ask the cow? So it was walking up to all these animals asking if it was his mother. So I had thought like, well, what if we did kind of the same concept, except, the bird kind of looks like kind of a stupid ass bird, like not like a, like the bird looks in the actual book, but like just kind of like a stupid cross-eyed bird. And it kind of has a similar experience, and it falls out of the nest and is looking for its mommy. And, it first comes up to like an alligator, and, the bird actually gets attacked by the alligator, and the alligator kind of rips it to shit. So the bird is actually like, kind of walks away, and it's got like, now the bird is like all taped up on its wing, and it's got like, it's like leaving blood trails all behind it.
Well, I mean, and that was the thing. It was just more like a random concept that we had. And it was like, okay, like every time that you see the bird going up to things, it's like, okay, it goes up to a bear.
Worse. And well, I had a robot.
Yeah.
Like somebody was testing like this AI robot in a park, and it lands on its head, and it asks the robot if it's his mother, and the thing grabs it by the neck and tosses it.
Right. And then let's say
now like the neck is all like weird and squiggly and like,
are you my mother?
all stretched out. And I think it lands somewhere else. And by the end of the book, like the bird is kind of walking down the street, and you kind of have him like, whatever, I don't really care. And you kind of see him like, asking these two pigeons, and the pigeon's like, get the fuck out of here. And then behind him, there's literally 3 birds behind him that are like his mother and 2 baby birds that look just like him. And actually someone gave me the idea if I had them in that drawing,
yeah,
and they were putting up like wanted lost, like a lost bird picture. Like they were taping it to a window as he's walking by.
Are you my mother?
So like he's literally like giving up, and they're behind him like posting like lost. Help me find my son.
No,
this is the stupid shit we think about. We just think about like the most randomest shit, but
again, not really more safe for children in this case. No.
Oh no, yeah. These would not be for children, but they would be kind of in the adult children's books, because we would design them to look like children's books.
Yeah, it's kind of like, go the fuck to sleep, kind of with Samuel L. Jackson reading it and whatnot. The same idea, but just like, It's just for you guys, It's just for your own entertainment if you ever want
Or
to.
like, what's a Susie cleans her clam or something like that.
I mean,
But a lot of those are just, like they're innuendos, like they're like legit not meant to be taken literal, because it's like Susie has a literal clam and she's cleaning it, so
Right.
it's just an innuendo. What I want to do is not have it be an innuendo.
like he just wants to make it real. So like when that bird gets fucked up and his neck is crooked,
Oh yeah.
it's going to look crooked and his face is going to be all fucked up. Yeah, I know. That's what he's basically saying.
So that's kind of like one of our ideas. Obviously, the first two books are more on our priority list.
That's
If we can get them on the ground, off the ground and going.
We got to see how well everything else goes. But anyways, guys, I know we've been talking a little bit about, this kind of stuff, but we're going to move forward to some Marvel news.
Some news. Yeah, so just in May. I mean, we're in May, so I guess this month.
Wait. It's going to be May.
No.
Got him. No, I'm just kidding.
So this month Marvel has announced Kevin Feige announced that Marvel Studios is going to be split into 3 divisions, John.
And this is about fucking time because we've mentioned this before where this is where I'm hoping that Star Wars will kind of follow suit in a sense down the road, because if the way it's going is right, because like we haven't had a new Star Wars movie in actually a while. It feels like it's been a while for Star Wars wise, but it's been more focusing on the TV shows. But like Marvel needed to do this like a long time ago. And they should have done it because of the fact that if you start looking at the fact that their original game plan, what both of us talked about earlier before the podcast, was, they were focusing on this basically new update. Well, we'll get into it. But, they're talking about before, 4 movies, 4 TV shows, a couple of animated shows, whatever, and like do all this shit within a year time frame.
Yeah.
And there's no fucking way that you're going to do all this stuff. But like the fact that they've now taken a step back, they're now creating these divisions. And then the fact that they're slowing down and saying, hey, we're going to do 2 movies. We'll do maybe a couple TV shows, whether it's animated or let's say a regular TV show, whatever, depending on what they want to do. Now, I will tell you, Matt, and we did talk about this earlier. There's no fucking way that they should do Miss Marvel a season 2. There is absolutely no fucking reason. I'm saying it right now, boys and girls, and whoever you want to be called. The point is, there's no reason for that TV show to have a season 2. It was ended on a good note, and that was it.
I agree with you. I completely agree.
There's no reason for that.
There's no reason. We don't need it. But I do agree. When you look at Marvel Studios, before obviously they, this month they decided to split into 3 divisions. You have one studio. They're making 4 movies and what's initially like 4 shows on top of the 4 movies a year.
No, let's rephrase that, Matt. 4 piles of shit on top of 4 other piles of shit.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, that you have, really one division within Marvel Studios that's doing graphics.
Well, originally it was just Marvel Studios. The fact that they just now made Marvel Animation because of X-Men 97, and then Marvel Television really was with the whole WandaVision kind of thing. They did that, but Marvel Studios as a whole was just Marvel Studios.
Right.
And there was no division of separation of everything else because they're just like, oh, it's Marvel Studios. It's no big deal.
Right. So, they were doing the What If, and they, starting the X-Men 97, and they're doing all of these movies, and they're doing all these shows. So you're taking one, granted it's a large division of graphic artists, but you're taking all of them and you're saying, hey, we need you to work on Ant-Man. Okay, let's go do it. And then they'll go, oh, wait, we need you to work on this project now. So they split them up to work on that one. And then they go, well, we got this TV show and this TV show. Okay, so then now they split more of those up. Oh, they go over there, they go over there. And then they go, oh, hey, by the way, we're taking Ant-Man and we're moving it up to this date. Oh, shit. So now they all focus on Ant-Man to get it done. And guess what? When Ant-Man came out, the graphics weren't finished.
No, and that's my point. It's like, you make this half-assed shit And you no, that's what I'm saying because
No,
like,
it is.
because you're basically that's why we're saying like when you look at the original kind of way they were doing it before without the TV shows and everything else, they only made 2 movies a year. And then like we mentioned, well, and actually Matt made a good point is that of course they might throw in a sequel if they do it, but like they made quality shit because they were actually focusing on those things and be like, okay, this team's going to work on this team's going to work on that. And that's it, and focusing on that. And like I said, now we don't need to do it every fucking year, personally. I mean, granted now, like their timelines and their, casting and all this other stuff. Yeah, that might change a few things here and there. But, the way I also look at it is too, and Matt can also agree, is that depending on who's working these projects, let's say, directors, producers, writers, all this other stuff. Like, when it came to like the Avengers projects, right? So you looked at, the Russo brothers and, Joss Whedon, right? Joss Whedon did good. I'm not saying he didn't, right? And I know that he ultimately got fired and he moved on and did whatever. And he worked over at, DC, baby, and did all that. But anyways, like personally, like if you're going to look at like the projects that they're doing, right? So like Deadpool, they had a particular director for, right? And then like, for example, Taika Waititi, being, Thor, and then Russo brothers really taking on the role of like the Avengers and then like, so on and so forth. I can just keep going on, but that's not the point. You look at these directors, like, if they do it, well for like certain characters that maybe are similar, then great. Then focus on, giving those directors those particular sets of movies. So that way, at least, the content, at least, continuity wise, is actually going to be the same, right? Because like, if you start switching them all up all the fucking time and they're like, okay, so Ryan Coogler, who did fucking Black Panther, well, you know what? He's going to go fucking work at, Fantastic Four. And you're like, well, no offense. He was just working on a basically all black movie. And now he's like, oh, well, I guess it's an all white movie. Here we go. Or whatever, I'm just throwing it out there, but it's like, you want to make it sure that their strengths and weaknesses are at least met, and try to work on it.
The studios division, their primary focus is going to be just on the movies. And what basically Bob Iger had pointed out was that they want to get back to quality over quantity, which is why obviously they've split them into 3. So with Marvel Studios, they're just going to do films and try to, I guess, retain the fan base, which through Disney, it's gonna be kind of tough with how things have already gone. So
yeah,
our one and only hope is whatever happens in Deadpool.
No, I honestly just thought you were about to be like Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. But I mean, yes, Deadpool is basically the Obi-Wan Kenobi of this entire thing.
Hopefully he lives up to the, Marvel Jesus moniker.
I mean, so I know we'll get into the whole Deadpool, kind of series, but like, looking at how you look at Deadpool, you're looking at Fantastic Four, and then you're also looking at like, Captain America, Brave New World, coming out next year timeframe. You're hoping that these movies, chronologically speaking and like, making sense and all this. I mean, granted, when was the last time we saw, basically Falcon, who became, Captain America? When was the last time, Matt, roughly, did we actually see him?
I mean, in the TV show was, I think, the last time.
Right. So how many years ago was that?
I couldn't.
You couldn't. No.
I mean, it was a long.
The fact that you couldn't tell me roughly that's my point. Is like, if you can't tell me how long ago roughly it was, because of that, it's been over at least a few years.
For somebody that took over the role of Captain America,
right? He
should be in almost everything.
Well, right,
or at least involved or mentioned
or something. Because like the fact that he was only mentioned in one TV show, and then it was like dead silence for many years. Then it was like, oh, hey, well, look, we got a new movie that's coming out. And then like it keeps getting pushed. And then it's like, oh, hey, we're going to come out next year.
I think the last time Captain America was referenced, they were actually referencing Chris Evans.
Well, again, that's my point. Like that's my issue. So actually, I'm going to look this up right now. So
yeah, I mean, Marvel Animation, obviously they're focused on, the What If, the X-Men 97 series. They did the shorts I Am Groot.
okay.
But they also did the production of the Disney Junior series, Spidey and His Amazing Friends. So that's kind of what they're focusing on.
So my bad. So I looked it up. It was 2020. Oh, so okay. It's still been a few years now, mind you. It's 2021 was the last time that, because it was the TV show. 2021 was when it came out, because WandaVision came out first. Then it was that show.
Still quite a long time to see a Captain America.
Right, because you would have thought.
And we're still not seeing him until next year.
So again, it'll be 4 years, roughly, before we actually see him on the screen again. Now, in movie time, that's a long fucking time. Now, for us, it's like, okay, whatever. It seems like a while, but it's not. In movie, like chronological timelines, you would at least maybe have seen him maybe in like a year or two. And that's 2 years is like tops. The fact that we're not seeing him until 4 years later.
And the thing is, the thing is, he also doesn't have like the same super soldier serum, effect that the Chris Evans Captain America had. So he does freaking age. So there's only a limited amount of time where where we can actually believe that this guy is going to be
right. And that's where
viable Captain America.
Well, not only that, I mean,
in the comic books, he wasn't a great Captain America anyways, but
neither was Bucky, well, just like my dog. No, I'm just kidding. No, but it's like, you're looking at how, these movies are being made and everything else. It's just like, it's great that you're trying to get these things going and trying to put them down on paper in a sense and like get the timeline going. But it's like, I look at how, like you said, right now, Deadpool is literally the saving grace, because I'm hoping it is going to make it over $1 billion, because if it doesn't, I'll be very surprised. But then two, when you're moving forward, because if you're looking at like I said, down the road, like Secret Wars, Fantastic Four and that kind of setup and, building those characters, you need to start thinking about how, and basically in the long, in the long run, like how is this going to affect, like literally the stories? Because like, again, Endgame was the true last, like that was it. And then basically now we've gotten like here, little stories, little side pieces, like I would say probably, like I even told you before, that, Spider-Man No Way Home, Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness. I would say probably those two were like the two movies that I was like really excited for and like really like, hoping that they were doing well and all this stuff. Everything else, I mean, maybe Shang-Chi, but like other than that, like everything else is just a pile of shit. Like it's
everything that we've seen. You can probably just take Captain Marvel and throw her in the garbage, because that's pretty much what she's worth. I just absolutely despise everything that she's in. There's so many times that you can hear, I'm the strongest, Avenger. I'm the strong. Shut up. It's like one of those things.
Matt, I need you to tell me how you really feel. Just tell me how you really feel right now.
But it's like every single character outside of like maybe Doctor Strange and some of the main ones that we've seen, they're secondary characters. They're not main Marvel superheroes.
Well,
Miss Marvel is not a main character.
Well, no,
no matter how many movies or how many TV shows you put this girl in, she will never be.
No, wholeheartedly, I agree.
She will never be a main character. Like, you need somebody.
You need a leader. And so literally the leaders, if you think about it, would in this case would be Iron Man and Cap. But
no offense, Ironheart is not a replacement for Iron Man.
No, like I told you before, I told you this is like, when you look at, and I'm not trying to be sexist, I'm not trying to be anything. What I am trying to say is like, when these characters for what they are, whether you look at, DC or Marvel or whatever, right? Like when you saw, I'm just going to throw it out there, right? So you look at DC, you have your, let's say 5 founding members. You have Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, Flash, and then Wonder Woman. And maybe Aquaman, if you want to throw them in there, we'll say 6. Okay. But my point is like you throw those people in. Okay. I'm not saying you can't have females as part of like a founding team in this case. But when you start looking at like characters that, if you look at the popularity, success, and how these things have transpired over years and stuff, people, for example, like in DC, they know those characters because that is what they were focusing on.
Right.
Marvel, right? When you look at the Avengers, you're like, okay, I have Cap, I have Thor, I have Iron Man, I have Hulk.
I mean, even in some circles, you have Wolverine in that too, because Wolverine was in there.
Wolverine
too.
and
Spider-Man. I mean,
you have a lot of people, but what I'm saying is I'm not saying that you can't have female superheroes that weren't a part of this group. There's Wasp, technically, back in the day, but like, you have some other members and so forth, but like, when you want to replace everybody. It's really when you get to and I'll give DC as the example. It's when you take and you remove somebody like Batman, and you go, well, we can't do a Batman series. We're gonna do a Batwoman. We're gonna do a Batwoman series, and she's gonna be black, just because we can. One, nobody wants to see that, which is why the show fails all the time. I mean, it failed the first time. You got rid of the original girl that played that played Batwoman. Either didn't want to be on it, or you got rid of her. I don't know what the story was. Probably the
now
first
there's
one.
There's a different one, and I'm sure that show is probably canceled too.
No, but that's what I mean.
DC Elseworlds, baby.
DC Elseworlds. No, but I'm not lying to you, man. It's just it's fucking sad that when you start.
It's because you got rid of Batman, and nobody wants to see Batwoman because nobody gives a shit about Batwoman.
That's what I'm saying about the fact that you're building the characters and you know them for so many years. I mean, we're talking like back in granted, DC days, we're talking like late 20s, early 30s, but like, we're talking Marvel easily in the like, I'd say 40s and then kind of moving up. But like, it's frustrating because like now when you're looking at how they're doing it, and we've talked about this before, when you're like, we're going to make it an all, female kind of driven cast. And like I said, I've never said that I don't want, females. I'm just saying that, you start saying, hey, we're going to use Ironheart as Iron Man. You're going to start using Kate Bishop as Hawkeye. You're going to start using She-Hulk as the Hulk. And then you're going to start, like, I could go on and on and on. And you're literally replacing everybody. And like, you keep basically Falcon as Cap. Okay, that's one, out of many, that you're saying you only have one guy, but even versus the many that are there.
Falcon was a secondary character. I mean,
he became, he was he was still up there. I mean, he was still
up there, but he was still like kind of a secondary character. But yeah, I mean, you're kind of getting that, and that's, you need to do quality over quantity, and simply replacing Iron Man with Ironheart and then never doing a story is really stupid. Well, like they would have been smarter introducing Ironheart when Tony Stark was still freaking alive.
Well, even then, I was also going to say, putting her in Black Panther 2 as like literally a secondary character, in a sense. And that's really what it was. And then you're like, oh, well, hey, we got Ironheart.
Yeah.
That's fucking cool. Like, I don't even know who the fuck you are, but that's cool.
Nobody knows what Ironheart is because you haven't ever talked about Ironheart. And we, it's like.
No, I mean, I know we could go on about this shit, but it's just, that's why we're hoping that, when we're about to talk about
hopefully they get back on track. And hopefully, Deadpool and Wolverine gets that back on track. But let's talk about some, if you haven't seen the trailer for Deadpool and Wolverine, like
you're living under a rock.
There's several trailers now, so go, stop this, podcast, go watch them and then come back because they're honestly like super, super cool trailers. And I know for myself, like I'm super looking forward to this movie. Like this, I think is going to be Marvel's movie of probably the past couple of years.
Because like I told you before, like when you have Endgame, then you go to No Way Home, right, with Spider-Man, and then you go to like Multiverse of Madness. I would say those three movies right there, this is why I'm going to put this up there with it, because, when you start introducing those characters that you haven't seen in a long, long time, especially with the fact that, we'll mention like some of the X-Men characters, some of the other ones that, may have not been seen in a long time.
Yeah.
That's why we're like, this is going to be important, because now we're talking about characters like from, like the original X-Men series, which is the most fucking complicated fucking series if you ever wanted to watch it. That's why I said, if you ever want to take the time to watch X-Men, good luck, because there's a lot of shit going on back and forth. Yeah. But like, you start looking at that, and then you start looking at, some of the other characters that they're apparently going to show up.
Yeah.
I wonder. But I'll start with a couple. Okay, but I'll start off.
Right. And these are some might actually be confirmed, but take these with a grain of salt. They might actually be just rumors. If they're going to be in the movie, you might see them like for a total of like 1 millisecond. Who knows? We don't know. We haven't seen the movie, so who knows?
So, for starting off, right? So apparently, Matt and I talked about this too. I'm going to start off without the X-Men first. So, him and I were just talking about how, Hulk, Thor, apparently Chris Evans playing Cap. Okay, maybe Fantastic Four version of him, playing the Human Torch. I don't know. We'll see about that. To me, looking at that kind of like that real quick, Cap's dead. Iron Man's dead. Well, let me rephrase this. Iron Man is definitely dead. Cap is definitely,
But it depends on where you see them.
No,
though.
I know. It depends on the movie, but like, Thor and Hulk, sure, absolutely. I could see, maybe like a cameo, but like the one thing that, we'll talk about a little later, but like, Thor and Hulk kind of maybe at the end of the movie could make sense. We'll talk about that, maybe that one end credit scene later on, but like, I could see that maybe if they do it the right way, but like, showing, Cap and Iron Man, it's like, unless they're showing like certain pivotal moments, sure. If they're just randomly showing up and you're like, well, why the hell are you here? Kind of a deal. Like I don't know. It depends. It depends.
Yeah, because I know that they're working with the TVA, so I know that they're at least going to be jumping into different moments from MCU's history.
Well,
whatever they're doing in the movie, we won't know until the movie actually comes out. But yeah, I mean, at least Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, we don't know if it, maybe if they're trying to be funny, they might add Eric Bana. I would find that more funny than Edward Norton.
No, I mean,
especially with the way that he looks. I mean, with that really bright, almost neon green and the weird ass face, like,
and then like
that would be hilarious.
Well, and then him just randomly jumping from one set to the other. You're like, where the hell did you go? But and then looking like the other thing too was like Spider-Man. To me was like one of those ones that I was a little surprised. I mean, granted, like I can see like.
But it's like which Spider-Man?
Which Spider-Man, is it Tom Holland? Yeah.
Yeah, which Spider-Man is it? We don't know.
Right. Go ahead.
But some of the rumored, and I'll go right to the X-Men, because I think this one, with obviously Wolverine being in the movie.
Well, which would make sense if
it makes sense. So I'm just going to read a lot of these because it's a lot of the original X-Men from the movies. Halle Berry, Storm, Patrick Stewart, Professor X. James Marsden, Cyclops. I'm not going to even pronounce her name.
Famke Janssen.
Yes.
Sure.
Her Jean Grey. Anna Paquin's Rogue. The Kelsey Grammer Beast. Channing Tatum being Gambit.
Which technically, back in the day when they were doing Gambit, even though, what was it? It was X-Men Origins, I think. It wasn't technically in that movie, but I know that they were separately making a movie, which they then canceled.
But then there's a rumor that he was on set for Deadpool 3.
And yeah, this was a long time ago because I remember seeing it.
I mean, he is friends with Ryan Reynolds, so I think they wanted to bring him in to do this. But like I said, whether he's in the movie or not, we don't know. But there's also, I'm looking at this, the Old Man Logan. There's Pyro, which was in the original ones. Magneto, the Ian McKellen version, which is pretty cool. So the older William Stryker, not the younger one from the newer movies, but the older William Stryker. And Lady Pool, which is supposedly going to be played by his wife, Blake Lively.
That is surprising to me. I'd usually be very interested to see if that's actually going to be real or not. But
some of the ones that people thought they saw in one of the stills from the trailer was Azazel, Toad, Lady Deathstrike, and Sabretooth. Which Sabretooth, according to the Google cast, when you look up Deadpool 3 cast, it looks like they have two versions of him, so there might be a variant of Sabretooth in there.
Well, because I know there was a different one that played him in the original like X-Men series, and then like if you look at like X-Men Origins, it was I can't remember his name, but like I know he's a famous actor. I just can't remember his name, but like he was a different version of him. But yeah.
And one of the questions that we were kind of talking about was Jennifer Garner. So she is confirmed in the cast as Elektra.
Which that's crazy to me.
In that in that kind of universe that Elektra was in, you also have the worst Daredevil,
Ben Affleck, which was originally again all leather, and it was the most weirdest thing you'd ever see on TV.
So if we're seeing Elektra, are we going to see that version of Daredevil?
I really hope not. I feel like what they need to do is just bring back Charlie Cox and just call it a day. They don't need to do the whole Ben Affleck thing, but
so some of the other ones I think I didn't mention, obviously Morbius because they're at the TVA. The X-23, which is Daphne Keane, that was in the Logan movie. Old Man Logan.
You already mentioned that, but that's fine.
That's fine. The Illuminati. That one was the Scarlet Witch kind of shredded them.
Well, yeah, I mean, which it would be interesting to see, like, because you'll see now Black Bolt if he does apparently show up. I mean, listen, man, I'm not saying that, and I'm going to say this now because I understand we're going to talk about Fantastic Four here. I would have fucking loved to see John Krasinski still to this day playing an actual Mr. Fantastic and his wife Emily Blunt playing Mrs. Fantastic, and then you could have done the other two the way that they are now and just fucking called it a day. I'm not saying that we can't see.
It would be interesting because the original Fantastic Four is also rumored to be in this movie. And
I know.
And you have a Mr. Fantastic who's John Krasinski from the Illuminati. That would be like really hilarious to see like two Mr. Fantastics and then Emily Blunt going, who am I?
Who's my husband?
Who's my husband?
Or well, because then if that's the case, like Jessica Alba, and then what was it, Michael?
Chicklets.
Yeah, Chicklets. Yeah, Chicklets. Not Chicklets, but yeah, Chicklets. Yeah,
Chicklets. Yeah.
But like it's crazy to me. Like this is the first time in a long time where, I mean, granted, a lot of these are really rumored. There's of course stuff, a lot confirmed and whatnot, and so forth. But like, it's crazy to me that this is the first time in a long time where, you get a movie that originally when we were like, okay, Deadpool Wolverine, okay, that's cool. Like, hey, we're going to see Hugh Jackman. We're going to see Ryan Reynolds. We're going to do all that. And then when we're talking like, okay, hey, we're going to throw in the most randomest fucking people. And I'm talking from all different areas. I mean, we're talking the original Fox X-Men. We're talking, Spider-Man. Like if we're talking Spider-Man, we're talking about like Sony. We're talking about.
Obviously we don't know. Like, they could be doing, Wolverine could be, they could show a flashback of what happened in his world where we're seeing these original characters going through whatever happened to his world.
No, I mean,
and that's
right.
And that could be like, realistic. Maybe that's part of the end credit scene. Who knows?
No, but okay. So now that you mentioned the end credit scene, I was going to say that the reason why I said Thor in, Hulk, depending on which one it is. Now, we did mention before, him and I, we talked about it. Then instead of who was it that was supposed to be apparently rumored as the main villain?
Well, what I saw rumored, and this was obviously just somebody saying it. It wasn't like an official thing.
No, I know, right.
Maestro.
No. Maestro, I understand that piece, but who was it? Like the lady, what was her name? The
villain in the movie is Cassandra Nova, which is Professor X's like twin sister or something like that.
Huh.
It's like it's his sister or something.
Okay. So, all right. So now looking at that and then like looking at Maestro, that's why I was saying about Hulk, but, the reason why we're saying this too is that if you're comic book nerds, I'm not saying everyone is, but basically there's a storyline regarding World War Hulk. And part of that is, basically Maestro in a sense. And so like Wolverine and, Thor in a sense, I know Wolverine's probably more a part of it, but Thor is also, it can be, he kind of jumps in the story too, but like those characters are very important, regarding this storyline. And so, you can bring those characters in, and that's what I'm saying. Like, so depending on how it goes and how, they end the movie, I'm hoping that they really do kind of set up that whole theory behind the She-Hulk thing where they were talking about, well, Hulk, bringing that story into play, which would be cool because that would be the first time that Marvel actually can try to redeem their damn selves and fix a goddamn Hulk movie instead of just not doing it,
So there's a guy on Twitter, and his name is My Time to Shine Hello. And
it's a long ass name, man.
It's just a whatever screen name that he has. Saying. But he, I guess, has been posting these kind of rumors, gossip things. And apparently he's been pretty accurate. Like he's been he's been pretty accurate with what he's been saying. This time with, Deadpool and Wolverine's post-credit scene, he actually says, OMG, this is too good. I'm not going to ruin this, but the post-credit scene in Deadpool and Wolverine is so mind-blowing. I can't believe they were able to pull this off without anyone knowing. And Rob Liefeld, who I believe is one of the comic book creators of either Deadpool or Secret Wars, commented, he ain't lying to you.
So that's what I mean. It's like, when you listen to what, this guy is talking about, I mean, the thing with Marvel, as we all know, is that, you think it's going to go one way and then it's like a total fucking, like, you get smacked in the face with a baseball bat. Like, you don't even know until it happens. But
so, I mean, it's basically saying, like, it's mind-blowing and surprising to pull off. Like, basically suggesting that it doesn't involve just a simple cameo by like an X-Men or like an MCU character. So basically it's suggesting that like what we're going to see is a whole different like character that we're not expecting to see.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like, I mean, we can,
which is why like I was, I would say if we were taking like a previous Hulk, like Eric Bana or Edward Norton, obviously in another timeline, we don't know where they've been since the start of the MCU. I mean, one of them could have ended up as Maestro.
I mean, personally, if we're talking about, let's say, timeline, okay, I know it would be funny to see Eric Bana, but like technically, if we wanted to get technical with the MCU, I would think that Edward Norton would probably be.
I would
Maestro.
think the Edward Norton, but I would also think the Mark Ruffalo the Mark Ruffalo Hulk was the one that took over the Edward Norton role, right? I mean, that's technically what I'm.
Yeah, that's technically right, but I'm just saying, like, they could basically say, "Hey, Edward Norton, you're going to be, Maestro," while basically, Mark Ruffalo is playing the actual Hulk. That's what I would think in that case. I don't know, but that's just me. I don't know. I mean, like I said, we don't know until it comes out in July. So we got a couple. So
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things because like you look at the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man or the Andrew Garfield Spider-Man or even like the Tom Hardy Venom, but you also have like the Hulk versions. Like those characters are owned by Sony and Universal, and so that's why they're saying like it would be surprising to see them because they're not owned by Disney or Marvel. They're owned by different companies. So the fact that they're saying like it's mind blowing, who knows the way like it's going to go, but it would be really fantastic to see an actual Hulk probably done the right way.
Oh no,
for once in a Marvel movie.
It would be about damn time. That would just be me. But I don't know, man. I just think that, looking.
I mean, there's
looking
another
at this whole thing though. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, there's another. I mean, they're saying like alternatively, like it might not center around any type of cameos at all. Like it could just feature this kind of twist that will affect the MCU history as a whole, where they actually get transported into the Avenger Endgame's battle on Earth, where they participate in the fight against Thanos without the Avengers actually knowing about it. And there's actually a reference in the comic book, Deadpool's Secret Avenger, Secret Wars. I don't know why it's like Deadpool's Secret Wars. But I guess in that comic book, Wade Wilson participated in the Secret War storyline, but then was erased from everybody's memory. Which makes actual sense when you actually put into context when he says, "I'm the Marvel Jesus."
I mean, like I said, there's so much shit that they could go and change and basically recreate the wheel, because once once Doctor Strange really, I would say, let me phrase this. Once Spider-Man fucked up the multiverse, that's where they knew that they could take it this anywhere that they wanted to go.
No, let me tell you, what ended up fucking this whole thing up was, I mean, one, Iron Man doing the snap was what fucked this whole thing up. But yes, I mean, absolutely. Yes, that is kind of where everything got messed up when they introduced the multiverse thing. But if you could imagine that the end of Deadpool and Wolverine, Deadpool actually does the snap instead of Iron Man, you know the type of implication that has on the rest of the MCU going into the future?
Oh, I know. Absolutely. I mean, look, Deadpool.
That means Iron Man would still be alive.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe Captain America would still be alive.
Well, I mean, Cap, that's a different story, because technically it's more like he goes back in the past, he lives his life, and then he comes back.
But he wouldn't have to if Deadpool already had to.
Right. I mean, granted, yes, with the whole aging thing, yes. I mean, because of his basically, what is it? Like healing. It's the healing ability. It's the healing factor. But like, he wouldn't age as quickly, just like Wolverine in a sense, because that's the whole process and the whole thing that we were trying to get at. But
like I said, I mean, it depends on what what ends up happening in the movie. But I mean, if he is helping the TVA kind of reset the timeline.
Oh, you mean,
and that's where the timeline kind of went wrong.
Yeah.
And he does the snap and then goes back to the TVA. We know that the Infinity Stones are basically paperweights at the TVA.
Hmm. No, I mean, yeah.
So they wouldn't necessarily have to be put back. So, I mean, granted, everything else kind of would fall back to wherever it would normally fall.
So, by the way, I messed up. I thought when you wrote down Mobius, I forgot that there is an actual character in TVA named Mobius, and I forgot that not Morbius, whatever. But yeah,
I put in Morbius because I fixed it, but then there is.
It is Mobius. My bad. I know that
Morbius is the vampire, right?
Yeah, that is correct. Like We're not going to talk about Morbius.
We're not talking about that one.
Yes, Mobius, as in like Owen Wilson. Yes, if you watched Loki, like that was a big important part to that. I think we. I don't know, man. I feel like we've hit that. Pretty good, just like talking about it.
Like I said, I'm definitely looking forward to Deadpool and Wolverine. Like I think very, very easily it will be $1 billion movie.
Oh, hands down. I full-heartedly believe that if it doesn't make $1 billion, I'll be really fucking surprised.
I would be really, really surprised. Whether or not all of these, individual characters show up, I really have no idea. I really don't see how you can fit all these random ass people, unless, like I said, you're doing a flashback or something.
Well, I was curious because I did look it up because I did know I saw what you were talking about with the Google Cast and whatnot. So I was kind of like looking around and just seeing it.
But I mean, some of them are confirmed. Like X-23 is confirmed. Old Man Logan, like he's in the trailer. Like it shows him in the trailer. Deadpool talking to him, like it's the actual scene from the movie. So, I mean, he does jump in between these things. So you're kind of like, okay, well, these are things that are in there, but like, are they just, is the Scarlet Witch in this movie because they jump to, that Doctor Strange scene, and that's where you see the Illuminati. So they're just in that scene because he's jumping to that moment in time where they're in there. So they're not necessarily in the movie because they're starring in the movie. They're just in that scene where they're in that part because they're in the movie that they were originally in.
So I just looked up something a little different, but so I was looking at the premise of the movie. Okay. So basically what it says right here is that the TVA, a bureaucratic organization that exists outside of time and space, blah, 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 monitors the timeline, pulls Wade Wilson / Deadpool from his quiet life and sets him on a mission with Wolverine that will change the history of the MCU as a whole. And I'm like, okay. So yes, I mean, when we were just talking about the whole, everything else, so yes, I mean, this could be a monumental, like a moment in literally everything that we're talking about.
Like I said, I think it has a lot to do with the snap. I mean, I don't see how it couldn't. I mean, that's like one of the biggest moments in the MCU is Iron Man doing that snap. So, I mean, literally, if you're saying Deadpool in Secret Wars was erased from people's memory like Spider-Man was, if you have Wolverine doing that, you could easily make that happen. And he resets the timeline and resets basically everything. Like I said, we just have to see the movie to have it all confirmed. But I think it's going to be a freaking awesome ass movie.
So I find it interesting though that this movie is technically part of Phase 5. It is the beginning of Phase 5. So it's like Phase 4 was like this.
Yeah,
it was like a
Phase 4 basically was.
Well, literally with Ant-Man, that was what it was. It was with Ant-Man, and it was like, bleh. You're like, bleh. Basically, it was the Jonathan Majors phase, and it was like, oh, just kidding, we're going to toss that off right now.
I kind of like, I almost envision like Phase 4 being. Have you watched Dumb and Dumber?
Oh yeah,
it's like that scene where Jim Carrey's character is doing like the dry heaving, like you're like, bleh, bleh. Like it's like Phase 4.
We're like, wait a minute. We talk about Phase 1 through 3, and then we're like, bleh. Okay, and then we go to 5, and it's like, okay,
it's like that little gif of like Jim Carrey dry heaving.
It's just crazy to me, like, man. It's just like, you look at Marvel, and it's just sad that, I'm not, I mean, trust me, I've always wanted, that's why I was wondering when, Disney acquired this back in 2019, Fox and everything else. It's crazy to me that, you're looking at how, they're now finally making another, Deadpool movie. They're doing all this stuff. And it's like, you're hoping, and this is why I said, in the very beginning, a long time ago, I said when they acquired it, I was like, I hope and pray that when they got this movie, that they were going to keep the original, same style of really what Deadpool was, because like, there's no fucking reason to like change it up, because like, if you're making, like, it was actually, besides I can't remember what the movie was called, Christ or Savior or whatever the heck it was that rated R movie a while back. It was basically about Jesus Christ, but like, that was the top selling R rated movie, but then Deadpool came out and I was like, oh my God, and it actually like did so well. And then you're hoping that basically you're like, hey, listen, as long as you keep the same ratings and stuff, like, you don't need to keep changing everything up.
Well, I think that was the thing. I mean, with Ryan Reynolds, when they first said that they were making the third one, I think initially he said, like, this is the way I want to do it. If you're not going to do it, then I don't want to be involved.
Well, and then I also found it interesting that both, besides Marvel Studios, his two companies that I found out, I didn't realize this. One was called 21 Leap Entertainment, which is apparently one of the ones that he was working with. So, like, actually, let me pull this back up again, because I just had it up. Where is it at? Where is it at? There it is. So 21 Laps Entertainment, right? So this one made like Cheaper by the Dozen. It made The Atom Project. It made Free Guy, Real Steel. Like some of the stuff that both of them have worked on. Filmmaker Sean Levy. So it's just interesting. Like, those two have had like similar relationships, so they're a part of it. And then Maximum Effort is actually owned by Ryan Reynolds. So of course, like, he had to like, oh, hold on, I just want to help you out, kind of a deal. But no, I mean, what I'm saying is just like, it's nice to see that, when when you have those like types of actors that are like, hey, I'm gonna, use my company and do all that. Like, yes, I'm gonna work with Disney, but like, as long as, like I said, as long as you're keeping to that original true, kind of like way of telling a story, that's great because, like I said, if you start switching shit up, I mean, if you basically literally switched up Deadpool as a whole, I don't like, so what the fuck is the point of having that character? Because it's literally the only character, probably MCU, besides, well, actually, no, I would say he's the only character that really does whatever the fuck he wants. And really the fourth wall is like his best friend.
Yeah.
He doesn't care. Like, he just does whatever.
Yeah. I mean, it's really where they go from this movie, like the direction that they take this in. Because, if they take the momentum that Deadpool has, and they just poo-poo it with more Miss Marvel and Captain Marvel.
Can you just...
And they just keep doing the same shit, and they don't learn any lessons. They'll basically just have $1 billion project and a bunch of other failures behind it.
I'm sorry. I just love the fact that you said if they just took a poo-poo on it and that... I'm sorry. No, but it was... Anyways, but no, I understand what you mean. It's crazy that... I'm just like, you're right. I think that Disney really just needs to take a lesson from this and hopefully moving forward, as long as this movie does well, that they can take a look at the projects that they're doing and be like, okay, so how do we make that same hype, that same success? Because no offense, I mean, every movie company or whatever you want to call it, they're all looking to make money.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, we'll buy into it. If you actually make quality shit. If you make basically a piece of shit, then guess
what?
Like,
you know what? We have an idea. Fuck Deadpool. We'll use Lady Deadpool. Oh, boy.
Yeah, Billy. You're like,
boy.
You know what?
You guys haven't learned a fucking thing.
I'll be like, you know what? Here's your next idea. Ready? Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. I have an idea for you. Maybe you can sell Marvel to somebody who will
give a shit.
Actually do some actual good things with it.
No. But anyways, guys, I mean, we've been talking a lot about Marvel and, Jay win for the win, maybe. No. We've been talking about all that stuff, but, we like, hearing from you guys. We like the support. We love the, the commentary from time to time. I know we joke around that, it's Jeff's corner, but, again, we keep saying, we'd like it to make it a fan's corner if we could actually have more people talking, and actually, oh, wait, time out. I forgot. Matt, actually, we just told me, and I forgot, and we didn't actually mention this.
Well, it's kind of a new thing. I just did it today. So.
I know you did, but so we're actually going to be doing a blog. Okay, so from time to time, if we have some stuff that we want to talk about, we'll probably post it on there and let you guys kind of have that little commentary, right? So, if there's things that maybe, Matt or I, if we're like really intent on like, hey, we're gonna talk about more of a topic that we couldn't maybe kind of go into a little bit more, we'll probably go on there and start posting it, kind of give like some feedback and whatnot, but we want you guys to kind of do that same thing. If we post on there, like, hey, you can, let us know and
read it, leave some comments. If we like the comments, we will read them during one of the shows and be like, hey, we posted this, blog post and, these were some of the comments But yeah, I mean, we're going to basically, they might be based on some of the episodes that we've done. Maybe one in the, future we'll do a blog post on, or, maybe something we're thinking about, maybe something in the news that just came out, for Marvel or Star Wars or whatever. Like, we'll do a blog post, what we think.
Or, here's another idea. Even though we might do it, maybe if you leave a comment, maybe we'll talk about maybe you guys, what you've said. Maybe there's like an idea that you're like, hey, what did you hear about this? Maybe we're like, oh, actually, what? That's a good idea. And then we can jump on that and we can talk about it. Or maybe if we're lucky enough and we see it, maybe we'll talk about it in maybe one of the episodes or whatever. Right. Again, it's all about getting that conversation piece, out there and making you more aware, and having that conversation with fans, that's what we're trying to do. Uniting all geeks. That's all I got to say. If you want to share it out to that local bum down the street, or go to that local Walmart or whatever, and you're like, hey, bro, I got a podcast for you to listen. Listen, man, 2 guys, 2 mics, dude, I can't do it all the time, man. And I know Matt can't either because he's an introvert. So at the end of the day, we can only do and spread the love for as much as we can. But anyways, guys, we've been talking too much. But until next time,
stay geeky.